Hey guys, it's time for my biannual upload. Today we're going to be talking about motorcycles and the New South Wales Motorcycle Operators Skills Test. Now, if that doesn't concern you, click off the video, it's not for you. But if you were like me and you were a bit nervous before your test, this might be for you. Now, of course, the MOST is broken up into 8 sort of testable things, and they're usually broken up into 4 separate parts of the course. I'm sure you've sort of seen that online from the government website. And today I just want to walk through it, give you some tips, how it felt on the day. I'm not claiming to be an instructor or anything, I'm still on the P's. I just got them basically, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of perspective of what it's like, the feelings are fresh and stuff like that. So without further ado, we'll just get right into it. Alright, so before we get into each maneuver, I'm just going to run you through what the whole day sort of looks like. So you start off with booking your course. It's one single day where you do the pre-provisional session and then the MOST test at the end. So the start in the morning, you run through some very similar stuff to your L's. You do figure eights where you give way to one direction. Then you do slow movement. You go in a straight line where you're feathering that rear brake, clutch at the bite point and the throttle at fast idle. So really trying to control how slowly you're going. And then to finish off with some sort of quick braking, so learning how to use both the front and the rear brake to stop nicely and without falling over basically. And then you have a break and you move into the road ride, and the road ride is just riding around the test center, and you stop on occasions to learn a few things, and you take turns leading the pack behind the instructor. So the instructor's always at the front, and then you've got your group of road riders, and you take turns switching being at the front, and you switch every time you stop. Very simple, just make sure you're listening to the instructor, it's super easy. You come back for lunch, and after lunch it's all about the most. So you do about an hour and a half of practice on the most, and that involves essentially working up to finish or to get to the point where you're doing the skills, the 8 different skills, really nicely. So they'll walk you through, they're really nice, and they'll sort of slowly get you to that point. Then after that, quick break, and then it's into your most. And sort of that's done, at least for me, it was done in alphabetical order, but it's sort of just meant to be random, and different stay upright stations will do it how they want. And hopefully you'll pass your test by the end of that. So that's how the day runs, and now we should be able to get into the rest of things. And just a couple more things before we get into it, sort of some universal tips for the test. Just starting off with head checks, and try not to stall that bike. You'll incur points if you don't do head checks. They're the easiest way to make sure you keep those points. So of course, left and right head check, make it obvious, they're looking out for it. So really make sure you're doing that. Second thing is, in terms of your bike choice, if you have a big bike like this, or if you have a sports bike, I really do recommend renting like a 125cc Honda or something like that. Make sure you practice with it, and then bring it on the test day, or rent one of the stay upright bikes. Trust me, you'll thank yourself for it, because a lot of these maneuvers, like the cone weave and the U-turn, as you'll see, lend themselves to a much smaller bike. The next thing is get really comfortable doing slow speed stuff, learning how to sort of feather that rear brake, clutch at the bite point, and the throttle at fast idle. It's really the key of the test. A lot of these moves are at a slow speed, so when you're comfortable going slow, that's really good, and it's probably the first thing you should start practicing before getting into the maneuvers. And lastly, try as much as you can not to be nervous. I know that's easy to say now that I'm in this position, but everyone's in the same boat. Everyone's on their L's, they're nervous. Try and chat to everyone else. It'll make you feel a lot more comfortable once you get to that point at the end. Just build a bit of a friendship or acquaintanceship with everyone else, and it'll make you feel much calmer. It'll make everyone else feel much calmer, and it'll sort of do the day really nicely. So those are just some general tips. Really the key is make sure you remember your head checks and don't stall that bike. But now we can actually get into an overview of all the different maneuvers. Okay, so now into the nuts and bolts of it. You'll first start off with a left turn and a stop in the box. The second thing you'll do is a cone weave and then a U-turn, a right-hand U-turn. Then what you'll do is a brake test at 20 to 25 k's an hour, and then the last thing you'll do is an obstacle weave at 20 to 25 k's an hour. So you'll get a break between each one, but those are sort of the pairings. That left turn, stop in the box, that's a pairing. Cone weave and the right-hand U-turn, that's a pairing. And then the emergency stop is on its own, and then the obstacle weave is on its own. So that's the general gist of the most. It'll take you about 5 minutes, and the instructor walks you through it really nicely the whole time.
So now we're going to walk through each maneuver slowly so you have an idea of how they run and what to look out for. Alright, so first up is the left turn and stop in the box. So here you'll sort of waddle up to the T, and of course before I move off I'm doing a clear head check. I'm looking forward, don't lose points on something that simple. So from here, keeping it slow, there's no requirement for speed in this section. So I'm holding a steady fast idle, feathering the clutch and using mostly the rear brake to control my speed. When I'm in the turn, I'm not looking down at the lines, I'm looking where I want to finish. Your bike will naturally follow where your eyes are looking. Now the key for the stop in the box, keep your head up straight, looking down with your eyes, slowly coming to a stop with your rear brake. So next up is the cone weave and the right hand U-turn. As I roll up to the T again, I'm looking ahead and I'm doing a clear head check left and right before I move off. Same as before, we want a steady throttle, light clutch control and rear brake to keep it slow and smooth. Remember, this isn't a balancing test, so if you need a small step at the start, it's completely fine. Now the key here is keeping your head up, look where you want to go as you move through the cones, and your bike will naturally follow. So after the last cone, you'll turn around and you'll come back towards the U-turn. Now the key thing here is as you're turning, you want to be looking back over your shoulder. Now I know I don't do it here, but turn your head as much as possible. So next up is the emergency stop. This one's pretty straightforward. Key thing here is to get up to the 20 to 25 k's an hour mark by the time you hit the first cones, maintain that speed, and then hit the front and rear brake. Lastly is the obstacle turn, but here you'll be fine as long as you have your head straight up, looking ahead, and you do a decisive movement to the left or the right.
Cool, there you have it. That's the most done and dusted. It won't take you 5 minutes. Hopefully the video helped you out at least a bit. Hopefully you learned one thing, and hopefully it calmed your nerves at least a little bit. Now, the last tip I'd leave you with is don't leave your test to the last minute. Give yourself at least a month of breathing room, just in case something happens, of course. It gives you that time to book another test, and of course, if you do, you only have to do the test again. You don't have to do the whole pre-provisional course. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. Again, I'm giving you that perspective of someone who's just got their Ps and just went through it. It's not really an instructor's perspective of someone who's been riding a long time. So take it with a grain of salt. And thank you for watching.